In this video, we're going to review how to use the distributive property. So anytime that we get to an expression or an equation, an expression just doesn't have an equal sign. So anytime we get to an expression, we want to try to simplify it as much as we can. So we're going to try to simplify it by collecting like terms. Are there any like terms here? Taking a look inside the bracket, we have a 2x minus 4, not like terms, because this guy has an x, 4 doesn't have an x, so we can't add and subtract them. So the only thing we have left to do is this 3, and this 3 is squished beside this bracket, and we know that when things are squished beside each other in math, we know that what's really happening in between there is multiplication. So this is really 3 times 2x minus 4. So if this is 3 times all of this, then we have to multiply 3 by every single thing in this bracket. So we got to multiply the 3 by the 2x, and then we got to multiply by the 3 by the negative 4. So when we simplify this, the first thing that we're going to do is write whatever 3 times 2x is. So just for this time, I'm just going to write it out. And then we're going to check whatever 3 times negative 4 is. And 3 times 2x, we're just going to multiply the coefficients, 6. There's 6 x's. And then 3 times negative 4 is going to be negative 12. And then we're going to check to make sure we can't simplify it any further. We can't, so we're going to move on. Taking a look at the example that's literally right beside, it's so similar to this one right here. The only difference is instead of what's multiplying against the bracket, it's not just a 3, it's a 3x. So what do we do with it? Still, this is 3x times everything in here. So we just got to multiply that 3x by everything in there. So we're going to multiply the 3x by the 2x, and we're going to multiply 3x by negative 4. So all that's going to be different than the previous example is just adding some exponent laws in here. So we're going to multiply the 3x by everything inside there. And now we got to deal with a little bit of exponent laws. So we got 3x times 2x, 3 times 2 is 6. X times x, each of these have an exponent 1. So when we multiply when we multiply variables, we're going to add the exponent. So this is going to be x1 times x1 is going to make x squared. So I'm just going through these first two really slowly, and we're going to go through all the rest of the examples quite quickly. So 3 times 2 is 6, and then we've got x times x is x squared. And then next we've got 3 times negative 4, that's going to make negative 12, and then we've got an x there. All right, we cannot add or subtract these. They're not like terms. This guy has a squared, this guy doesn't. Okay, so we reviewed multiplying or distributing with a monomial, so just one guy multiplying in. So let's try these two examples quickly. So we're going to up the difficulty here. So we've got a few things we've got to expand. So let's take a look at it. Here we've got a 2 multiplying against a bracket. I know what to do with that. I'm going to multiply the 2 by everything inside, just like we did above. Now we have a negative sign multiplying against this. So how do you deal with that? Well, the number is just missing, and that number that's missing is a negative 1. So all I'm going to do is just multiply negative 1 in here. And then should I multiply by this one? No, definitely not. This negative 1 is only talking about what's in this bracket here. It's just touching this bracket. This positive one has nothing to do with it. So just leave it alone. So let's quickly distribute. So we are going to distribute that 2. So it's going to make 2 times x, which is 2x. Then we've got 2 times negative 3. That's going to make negative 6. And then we've got, now this guy here. Negative 1 times 4x is going to make negative 4x. Negative 1 times positive 1 is going to make negative 1. And then we have this plus 1 all on the side here. So we should be at a point now where we can just collect like terms in our head instead of moving them together. But if you're at a place where you still need to move them beside each other, no problem. So I'm just going to put the x's beside each other. Don't forget to include that negative in front of the 4, and I'm going to leave the constants at the end. So I'm going to put 2x minus 4x. And then we've got negative 6 minus 1 plus 1. So I'm just going to add together the like terms. So I'm going to add the x's together, and then I'm going to add together the constants. So I've got 2x minus 4x is going to be negative 2x. And then we've got negative 6 minus 1 plus 1 is just going to be negative 6. So the goal is to be able to just move from this line here all the way to there. If you're not there yet, if you can't sort of visualize this, that's fine, just work up to it. Let's try the next example. Okay, if you feel like you've really got a hang of it, pause the video, try this guy on your own, come back, and make sure that you have the same answer as me. If you're someone that you're still not sure about it, stay with me. We're going to do this together. We've just got two distributions here. We're going to multiply the 2x by everything in here. And we're going to multiply the negative x by everything in here, and then we're going to see what happens. So let's do this quickly. 2x times 3x is going to be 6. X times x is going to be x squared, because we know those exponent laws now. And then we've got 2x times negative 1. That's just going to make negative 2 and then an x. Now we're going to multiply negative x by everything in here. So here we go. Negative x times 4x squared. So think about this as negative 1x. If it's messing you up to not have the 1 there, put the 1 there. So we got negative 1 times 4. Negative 1 times 4 is just negative 4. And then x times x is going to be x at the exponents cubed. Then we've got negative 1x times positive 2 is going to be negative 2. X times x is x squared. Collect like terms. Can you do it in your head? If you're not there yet, we can physically move the like terms together. So I'm going to move the x squareds together. So we will have negative 4x cubed, and then minus 2x squared plus 6x squared. There are those green ones that I moved. And then we've got a negative 2x. So if I collect those like terms, the only thing I can add together are the x squared. So I've got negative 2x squared plus 6x squared is going to be plus 4x squared minus 2x. So just a reminder, the goal, can you get from here all the way to here? Let's try something a little bit harder now. What if you have two brackets multiplying against each other? So before we just had the one number 3 multiplying. Now we've got two brackets. So we've got two things in here, two things in here. Well, we got to do exactly what we would have done if it was just a 3. We got to multiply everything in here times everything in here. Because remember, these two brackets are squished together, which means that in between there is a times. We just don't write the x because it's very confusing with the letter x. So instead we just put a dot sometimes, or we just squish the two things beside each other. So if between there is multiplication, we're going to multiply everything in here by there. So I like to do it in a particular order. You can have your own order as long as you get the same answer. It does not matter. I like to multiply this first guy by everything in there, and then the second guy by everything in there. So first I do the 2x times everything, and then I do the 3 times everything in the other bracket. So that's the order I go in. I go blue first. So if we were to do this guy, this one I'll do slowly, and the next ones we'll do quicker. I'm going to do the blue guy first. I'm going to do 2x times x. That's going to be 2x squared. And then I'm going to do 2x times negative 2. That's going to make 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And then we got an x. And then next I'm going to do the red guy. So I'm going to multiply the 3 by everything in there. And then we're done. So the 3 times x is just going to be 3x. Don't forget, this looks silly. This is now multiplication. We don't want that. It's positive 3x. So plus 3x. And then I'm going to do the 3 times the negative 2. 3 times negative 2 is going to be positive. Sorry, not positive. Negative 6. Okay, simplifying. Our like terms happen to be right beside each other. Makes it nice and easy. So I've got 2x squared, negative 4x plus 3x is going to be negative 1x, or negative x, minus 6, and we're done. We're going to try 3 more examples. And if you feel like this is something that you can do without my help, try them on your own. Fast forward in the video just to make sure you get the same solution, and you can fast forward through all the explanation. But if you feel like you need a refresher, then just stay with me. So this is just marginally more difficult than what we just did because I've added a number on the outside. So we've got 3 things multiplying now. We've got 5 times, that's a times, x plus 4, and then also times x plus 2. Multiplication, it doesn't matter the order that you do it in. If you do 2 times 3 times 1, and 3 times 1 times 2 is all going to make 6. So it doesn't matter the order that you go in. So personally, what I like to do is I like to deal with the binomials first and then multiply the 5 in. Alternatively, you can multiply the 5 in first and then multiply that whole binomial by this guy. It's totally up to you. I'm going to do it this way, where I do this guy first. So I'm going to do the expansion here, and then I'm going to multiply the 5 in. If you do it a different way, no problemo. As long as you get the same answer, it's not a problem. So inside here, I'm not going to do the arrows anymore, because if we did them above, if you need the arrows, go for it. But I multiply the x by everything in here, and then the 4 by everything in here. So I'm going to do the x first. So I've got x times x, that's going to make x squared. Then I have x times 2, it's going to be plus 2x. And now with the 4, I'm going to do the 4 times x, that's going to be plus 4x. And then 4 times 2 is going to be plus 8. And now all I have to do is multiply the 5 in. So you can multiply the 5 in right away. If you want to deal with these like terms first, just to make it simpler, do that. Doesn't matter. You can do this in so many different ways, different orders to get the same answer. So I'm going to deal with the like terms first. So we've got 2x plus 4x is 6x. And then now left is I'm going to multiply this 5 in. So what? We're not multiplying it into a binomial. Now we're multiplying into trinomials. Still the same deal. We're taking the 5 and multiplying by everything in here. Here we go. So we got 5 times x squared is going to be 5x squared. And then 5 times 6x is going to be plus 30x. And then 5 times 8 is going to be plus 40. And we're done. Now what to do with this example? There are 2 major no-nos that students do all the time with this. The first thing is students want to multiply this 2 inside there. And if you do that, that is a big no-no. Why doesn't that work? Well, because we still have to follow the rules of BEDMAS. So let me just write out BEDMAS really quick. BEDMAS. Okay. So when we're simplifying something, we got to follow the order of BEDMAS. So we got to do brackets first, nothing to do in the brackets. Then we've got to do exponents, and all the way down here is multiplication. So here's exponents and here's multiplication. So if I multiply this in, I'm totally missing the exponent part. I got to deal with this exponent first. So here's the second big no-no that students do. They think, okay, let me just distribute this squared in here. So this is going to be 9b squared minus 25, right? Wrong. No, no, no. Why is that wrong? Well, we're forgetting what a squared actually means. If I were to ask you to tell me what 4 squared means, you would say 16. And how do you get that? You would take 4 and then multiply it by itself, 4, and that's how you get 16. If I were to give you a squared, what does a squared mean? It means a times a. Or if I have my hand squared, what does my hand squared mean? It means my hand times my hand. So if I have this whole thing squared, that just means this whole thing times itself. So the only way we can do this, in the last example there was 5 different ways we could do this. The only way we can do this is to start off by writing it out in expanded form. So we got to write this bracket twice. So this is 2 times 3b minus 5, and then times another 3b minus 5. That's what this squared means. Okay, and now this looks exactly like the example that we just did over here. Boom. Whoop. Okay, here we go. So now this guy looks just like this. So you can choose. Do you want to multiply the 2 in first and then multiply the whole thing by that guy? No problem. I like to do the brackets first. So now that we have it expanded this way, now it becomes a much easier problem. So I'm going to do it the same way that I did it before. I'm going to do these brackets first. If you're comfortable with this, pause the video, move on without me. So here we go. Inside those brackets is going to be 3b times 3b. That's going to be 9b squared. And then I've got 3b times negative 5. That's going to make negative 15b. And then I've got negative 5 times 3b, this guy here, another negative 15b. And I've sort of run out of room, so I'm going to do it underneath. I've got negative 5 times negative 5, so it's going to be plus 25. I'm going to simplify these like terms inside, and I've got 2 times 9b squared. Negative 15b minus 15b is negative 30b plus 25. All right, just like the last example, I've got this 2 multiplying by this entire bracket here. I've got 3 things in the bracket. Who cares? I'm just going to multiply the 2 by every single thing in there. There could be 10 things in there. I'm just going to multiply the 2 by the 10 things. So I'm going to do the 2 times 9b squared. That's going to be 18b squared. And then 2 times negative 30b is going to be negative 60b. And then 2 times 25 is going to be plus 50. There's no more like terms, so I'm done. All right, last example, I tried to make it as complicated as possible. Here we go. We got a binomial times a trinomial. That means that there's 3 things in a bracket. This random minus 3, and then we've got another expansion to do. So I strongly urge you, if you feel really, really comfortable with this, try this on your own and just fast forward through the video to check the answers. If you're still shaky, you're still unsure, then let's do this guy together. So we've got 2 distributions to do. I've got this guy here. This negative 3, nothing's multiplying against it, so I'm just going to leave it alone. There's no like terms to add it to, nothing, so I'm just going to hold on to it. And then I got this distribution, so I'm going to do them simultaneously. I'm going to do them at the same time. So here we go. Let's do this first guy. So in this video, we haven't done a binomial times a trinomial, but once you understand the basics, you can do as many terms as you want. I'm still just going to multiply everything in here by everything in here. So for this first guy here, I'm going to multiply the 2a by the a squared. And then I'm going to multiply the 2a by the negative a, and then the 2a by the 1. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the negative 1. I'm just multiplying by everything in there. Okay, so let's do it. So 2a times a squared is going to be 2a times the power of 3. And then we've got 2a times negative a is going to be negative 2a squared. You can think about that negative a as a negative 1a if it's messing you up. Then we've got 2a times, I'm confused here, 2a times positive 1 is going to be plus 2a. All right, now let's multiply this negative 1 by everything in here. So I've got negative 1 times a squared is going to be negative a squared, or negative 1a squared. Then I've got negative 1 times negative a is going to be plus a. And then I have negative 1 times positive 1 is going to be minus 1. Then moving forward, I've got this negative 3 here, not doing anything, so I'm just going to copy it. And then my last distribution I've got right here. So I'm going to do the 2a times a. That's going to make 2a cubed, and I'm going to put a plus sign in front because it's positive. And then I'm going to do 2a times 5, and that's going to be plus 10a. And the hardest part is done. All we're left to do is collect like terms here. So I'm going to put, we've got all the a cubes together. I'm going to put all the a squares together. We've got one here, another one there, and then I'm going to put all the a's together. I've got one here, and one here. So here we go. Can you just do this in your head? If you can move to the answer, do it. If you need to rewrite it, rewrite it. 2a cubed, then I've got plus 2a cubed. Those are my a cubes, and they'll do the blue ones now. Negative 2a squared minus a squared. Then I'm going to do the red ones, plus 2a plus a plus 10a. And then we've got our lovely negative 1 minus 3. Those ones are already beside each other, so I'm just going to add them right away. Negative 1 minus 3 is going to be minus 4. All right, let's do this. Add the cubes, add the squareds, add the a's, and we're done. So we've got 2a cubed plus 2a cubed is going to be 4a cubed. Negative 2a cubed minus negative 2a squared minus a squared is going to be minus 3a squared. 2 plus 1 plus 10 is going to be plus 13a. And then we have minus 4. No more like terms, and we're done.